Joan Sills, and welcome to Lightbulb Leadership TV, where we interview interesting and inspiring CEOs. Today we have with us Evan Bailyn, who is the founder and CEO of First Page Sage. He's written 3 best-selling books about SEO and thought leadership. He's a sought-after speaker and really an expert in Google and SEO. So welcome, Evan.
Thank you so much for having me here.
I'm so glad you could come. Could you tell us just a little bit about, how and why you started the business and what the business, what it entails? What is it exactly?
Absolutely. I'll start there. First Page Sage is an SEO company, which basically means that we generate leads by getting websites to rank at the top of Google's natural search results. We do it through ghostwriting, blogs, and other pages on companies' websites. We're mostly a B2B company, about 75-25 B2B, B2C. And the way we started it is when I got out of college and, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, I decided that I would start a college admissions consulting company. It didn't matter the business, but this was something that I thought I was good at and wanted to help kids with their applications. So I had to teach myself some way of getting business. And I didn't have any money at the time. And SEO is something that if you're good at it, you don't have to pay that much for it. So I taught myself using some online forums and became very good at it. And when I realized that it was such a commercially valuable skill, I had started and sold a number of businesses several years past the point where I started the college admissions company. I said, you know what, I should probably do this professionally. Yeah. And decided to start a company. At that point, it was just myself and my brother. And since then, it's grown quite a bit.
That's great. That's great. Well, let me ask you this. I mean, everybody it's still top of mind for, but has been impacted by COVID. Yeah. How has your company been impacted? And is there anything that you've learned during this that you're going to keep and going forward?
Yeah, so we have been in the handful of companies that are positively impacted by COVID in that we have been virtual almost the entire time that we've existed. So we've been around 12 years. For 10 and a half of them, we've been virtual. And what we sell is a fully virtual product. And, everybody works from home, already did before, and we've been using Zoom. And so the impact of COVID has been positive in that online marketing budgets have shifted, marketing budgets have shifted away from in-person conferences, sending people out to sales meetings, that sort of thing. And there's just more emphasis on the types of lead generation like what we do. However, what it did do is it made our business model or the model of our company, where we're a fully virtual company, less special. That used to be something where people would say, hey, Evan, can you give a talk on this? It's so unique that you have this, large distributed team. And now it's not so special. And what that meant is that every large company was now competing and trying to take our talent. Yeah. So this was something we had to adapt to, is that we no longer had this really special thing where we say you can, be at home with your family and still be able to work.
Right.
So that's been big, and it really, I think, it forced us to, be better in that we had to rise our salaries and essentially make harder decisions about keeping the right employees as the competition for talent has grown. I'd say that's the main impact.
That's really interesting because, very few companies that I've talked to were really virtual, completely virtual, and people really working from home. So that's been such an impact for so many people. But like you said, that's been an impact, but now you had something special to offer employees all over the place. And now everybody's looking for those employees. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. How would you describe when you have a disparate or a distributed employee set? How would you describe your culture, and how did you develop a culture in your company when you guys were not in the same place?
This is a question I get a lot, and I think this is our advantage when it comes to, even though the landscape has flattened out in terms of there's so many opportunities to work virtually now. When you start a company, virtually, which is essentially what we did past just the first year and a half, then something naturally develops that in terms of culture. So the same way that you would build culture in any other sense, you can build virtually. It's still human beings interacting. Being in person has a different energy than being virtual. Nobody can deny that the energy of being in person is better in so many ways, and fostering greater closeness and being able to brainstorm together. There's all these advantages, but because productivity is so much higher, the company has a chance to do better, and people get sort of that affirmation and positive feedback loop of the fact that it's a great company, and their career is growing and they're learning like crazy. So part of our culture is just that. We're successful. We consider ourselves the best there is at SEO, and that's a point of pride, and that's a nice thing for people that are trying to develop their marketing careers. But in addition to the tenet of excellence, that's one of the main things. I'd say that's 1A of our values as a company. 1B is that we take care of each other. When you're in, you're in, and we're going to make sure that you feel the spirit of teamwork and partnership. And anywhere in the company, if you have a question or you want to learn something, it is encouraged to drop what you're doing and help your fellow team member. And I don't think culture is something that you can sort of state or have a lecture on or something, as I'm sure everyone watching this knows. But for us, just being so focused on excellence, and then also just caring about the human beings a lot and wanting to, help out by, people getting together and pooling money to donate to a cause that matters to somebody, or recognizing someone that's doing something outside of work that matters to them. It's sort of like what you would consider a typical millennial, employee-focused culture, but it has a little bit of that old school where we need to focus on doing the best possible job for clients before anything, before even the employee focus, because without that, we don't have the resources to be able to grow people's careers. So that's been an interesting balance to grow over the years. And I think just those two values have grown our culture. And I think being in person is almost immaterial. I wouldn't even think twice about it, because we're organically virtual.
Yeah, it's so interesting because people have had such diverse reactions to this. Some people saying, oh my God, I didn't realize we don't have to travel to see everybody. We don't have to be in the same place. In fact, we can be more efficient. And then some people that it just doesn't work for. I mean, there are certain, types that are very social and are very, really need that interaction. And this has been, not that comfortable for them, but that's probably not somebody that you would have typically hired.
Exactly. There are many people like that. And for many people, work is a place that you meet friends, and, it's a big part of your social community, and that's wonderful. This company is not the place where that sort of, social interaction is taking place. It's very social. Everybody cares a lot about each other. And during normal times, we get together quarterly, monthly. There's, lunches and all kinds of things that we bring people together and sponsor. But if you already have kind of a family and a social network, it's more of a place for you.
Well, help me with this. Okay, I know that you're an expert in SEO, and SEO has become more and more and more in everybody's lexicon. I'd be surprised if there were people out there that didn't know what SEO was. But I'm not sure everybody connects search engine optimization with thought leadership. So maybe you can help us understand why they're so connected and why your marketing expertise is really both.
Absolutely. I don't think you can talk about search engine optimization without referencing thought leadership. You may use a different word or something like that, but thought leadership to me in its purest sense is just sharing really smart insights, and then people see those insights and respect you or your company for giving them such good information, and then think about you the next time they need a company like that that they want to work with. So I think about it in this very pure sense of every medium that's ever existed in history has had thought leaders. You have the forums in ancient Greece. You have Plato and Socrates and Aristotle. You have radio, Orson Welles. You have color television, Walt Disney. If you keep on seeing the same websites, then you begin to trust them. It's a form of branding, but the quality of the message combined with just the number of impressions is what makes it special. So that's
Yeah.
why you see it be so popular, because it works. I mean, we see thought leadership all the time in our society. We don't realize that when we look at a forecast or, some sort of really interesting report, it is really a form of branding from the company that created it that is just meant to make you think of them. They'll be top of mind the next time you need their services.
Okay. So when somebody hires you and you're, attempting to improve on their search engine optimization, and you're intending to help them get more business, be heard more, you use thought leadership. How do you use thought leadership in that regard?
So the way that we utilize thought leadership is we're publishing 2 pieces of content on a website every week. For each of our clients, it's at least 2 articles per week. When you publish at least 2 articles per week every week, then Google awards you what's known as the Google News Website Bonus. We call it that. Google doesn't call it that.
Yeah.
And essentially, it means that you are adding to the dialogue in your industry in this really phenomenal way. And Google rewards people or companies that provide free information. That helps them. If you think about Google's business model, it's essentially advertising. And advertising depends on people staying on the page and wanting to be there. So the more people trust the results that they get when they type in a search query, the better Google does. And so Google rewards the websites that put out the best information for free. So we basically write articles that are about keywords that prospective customers of our clients would type in. And we do it very systematically. It's a pretty ingenious thing with the way it's come together over the years, where we're just basically writing the best piece of content on the internet, responding to the search query that someone types in, where we can track that search query back to a commercial intent. That person probably is going to look to buy the product or service you sell, and you're answering their questions about that product or service or their interest in that product or service. And you're waiting there to receive the business when you answer their question.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I think there's so many people that don't get that. I mean, I hear all sorts of things about, well, SEO doesn't work, or it's passé now, and there's other things. But all it is how do you, optimize your search engine? And you have found, with all your knowledge in Google, that one big way you do that is, posting articles twice a week.
Yeah, as long as the articles target keywords. I think the reason that some people believe SEO doesn't work is because they may not have experienced SEO being executed on correctly. Right. Because most SEO companies, in my experience, because we're often taking over for other SEO companies, is they are doing like the technical SEO, which is like the old school way of thinking about it. They're doing tweaks on the website, changing keywords and tags. That does almost nothing. It may sort of be the prerequisite for you to rank, but you're not going to rank unless Google trusts your website, and the trust comes from acting like a news website and publishing content, and also from links, essentially references from other websites. So there needs to be this active content building for it to work. And even the companies that do active content building do not do it the correct way, and that they're not very precisely targeting keywords and then thinking of the psychological intent, the inherent questions within the search query that would really satisfy that searcher after they typed in the query. That, to me, is the fun part, but it takes a lot of steps of thinking to get to what would really fulfill the curiosity of this searcher, and what would make them say, I don't need to click back to the search results. I just got my answer. This is a great company, whoever wrote this.
That's great. That's great. So what has been the most fun for you in starting this company and building it and developing it? What's been the most fun?
Well, probably the thing I enjoy most is the human connection, helping to teach and grow the careers of our team members. Just because I'm an extrovert, I love people, and I mentor a number of people, and there's just something about seeing people grow. Having been out there, made your own mistakes, you see what works. You're only one person, but in the case of, I think, many people in the business world, you're specialized in this one area. And if you can teach people about this one area and see them blossom in all these ways that kind of ricochet throughout their lives from your specialization, it's very wonderful. So I'd say that probably gives me the most direct benefit. And for me, the most fun is probably learning more, the psychological part that I was talking about before, where I get to study all of these big companies we work with and what works for them, what doesn't work. So over the years, I've been able to tweak and retool the strategy every few months. And it's not because Google's algorithm is changing so significantly, because it really hasn't. It's because it gets deeper and deeper into the mind of what a person really is looking for in this commercial context, and often, if it's a B2C company and someone is having a medical problem, and they're talking about pain they have, it's like you really have to speak to that. And if somebody is just kind of in a serious decision-making role about, taking on like CRM software or something like that, well, they're in a totally different mentality, and you have to perceive them correctly and then respond to them. I just find that fascinating. So that's probably the most fun thing for me.
That's great. So I just have one last question. I'm just wondering if you can think of a light bulb moment where someone either asked you something or you saw something and you say to yourself, boy, I never thought of it that way before. And maybe you changed something as a result. So can you think of a light bulb moment?
There's been many. I have one that I often find the light bulb moments are ones that you're like, duh, that was so obvious.
Right.
And this is definitely one of those. When we started out as a company, we, SEO, there used to be like tricks that allowed you to rank at the top, where you purchase links from other websites, and then it just like rocket shipped you to the top. And we did a little bit of that in the beginning, because it's like, it was there, why not do it? And over time, it became clear that there's this timeless way to get to the top of Google, which is creating this content that satisfies Google's customer, who's like you and I doing searches on Google. And so there came a point several years into working on the company that I realized that simply being obsessed with quality and being higher quality in terms of the product, the operating procedures, the culture, the pay and benefits. I mean, basically like producing this very white glove, very high quality experience is what caused tremendous success. That there's a huge difference between doing a good job and doing an excellent job. Yeah. Good is often not enough in very competitive worlds. So I often say, like, if we find a team member and they're willing to, do a good job, I don't want them. I want someone that really understands the concept of excellence, of over delivering, of going above and beyond. They need to get something back from it. We don't just expect people to over deliver for no reason. There's an entire art to that, and there's a lot that we need to put in terms of the leadership of the company. But the difference between like doing a 7 out of 10 and doing like a 9 out of 10 is enormous in terms of what you get back, the way people talk about you, the referrals, the expansions of campaigns. I mean, our business has grown on excellence. And when it was just good, there wasn't much to it. There's a lot of SEO companies like that.
Well, that's great. Well, Evan, thanks so much for sharing your story with us. And I know Everett, your son, is on your lap. So thanks, Everett, for being so. Hi, Everett. Thanks for being so good. You were really good through this.
Thank you.
And so I hope that you'll share again as things change.
Thank you so much, Joan. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks so much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.